Thank you very much. And we will now be gathering for the central panel, which will focus on batteries. So with me today are Carlo Charles, founder and CEO of Flint, a startup developing a paper battery; Sophie Rivoire, the co-founder and CTO of MagREEsource, a company that recycles rare earth magnets; and finally, Pierre Bagnon, the executive vice president at Capgemini and the lead for Gigafactory and battery practice. My name is Emily Steinmark, and I'm a science correspondent at The Economist. So we are going to be talking first about how we might rethink batteries. And we have a lot to get through, so try and keep answers short and snappy. Carlo, Flint is pioneering paper-based batteries. And Sophie, MagREEsource is pushing what can be achieved with scrap from electric vehicles and wind turbines. I want to hear about how both your technologies can shift the industry away from new mineral mining. Sophie, let's start with you.
So yeah, when we talk about battery, we also talk about motors, because behind each batteries we have a motors to be functional. So magnets are essential for motors, for sensors and actuators, and for, of course, our new technologies and for the energy transition toward electricity. So our model at MagREEsource is to produce rare earth-based magnets based from end-of-life products. So we extract those magnets from current applications, such as hard disk drive, motors from e-scooters, from washing machines, from wind turbines, from electric vehicles, and we reprocess them into new magnets to provide the energy transition and the European OEM with those magnets. So this is really a circular economy-based model where we don't extract any natural resources, but only use so-called secondary resources.
Excellent. Carlo, do you want to introduce Flint and how you're shifting the industry?
Sure. Hi, everyone. We're from Singapore. We're building paper batteries, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a new chemistry that has no lithium, nickel, and cobalt in our batteries. So what we use is cellulose that you find in paper as an essential component of our battery, which means we make our own anode, our own cathode, and our own electrolyte materials, synthesized down to the atomic level, and then we avoid critical and toxic and scarce materials from our entire chemistry because we want to decentralize from the entire supply chain of these materials that we will be talking about later. And the key benefits we get out of our batteries are, number one, cost. Our input materials are cheaper than existing lithium chemistries. And by that, when we move to production, we are $50 per kilowatt hour, whereas lithium ranges from $100 to $130 per kilowatt hour. And when we move to the safety, our chemistry is actually water-based. We don't use any acids or any high concentrate electrolytes. And that's because we want our chemistry to be leak-proof in large-scale applications and also fire-resistant. And if anyone is interested, you can come over to our booth. You can see videos of it being exposed to fire. And lastly is sustainability, where our carbon footprint is much lower compared to lithium chemistries because of our supply chain. And number two, our end of life, where the batteries are actually compostable and they can go back to nature. They can degrade after 6 weeks when you expose them to sunlight, rainwater, away from the casing. So what we're doing now is we're moving towards production, mass production, and we're making these batteries in large scale so that we can go towards bigger applications like consumer electronics, medical devices, IoT sensors, and that you mentioned also. And we'll be stepping forward with more and much bigger applications moving on, yeah.
Great. So we've got magnet recycling and we've got a new kind of battery relying on different chemistry. Pierre, how does this fit with what you're seeing at Capgemini in terms of the sort of broader shifts in the battery industry?
Yeah, thank you, Emily. And hello, Sophie. Hello, Carlo. If we first take a step back, the battery industry is going through a revolution. It's quite remarkable, actually, the investment, the acceleration that this industry is going through. To cite some figures, it's over 100 billion being invested. It's a complete new value chain that is being built. Coming from Asia, firstly, and here we have to acknowledge, that's something we and the Western world, are learning from China, Korea, partially Japan, and we're catching up. This industry is absolutely key if you want to decarbonize mobility, have energy storage, to state the obvious, but there are a lot of new industrial applications also that will be created. And in that race, it comes with some challenges. Industrial ramp-up, currently, that's what we hear a lot actually in Europe, in the US, and that's for the current chemistry that we have to deal with, that are primarily based on NMC, LFP, so based out of lithium with nickel, manganese, cobalt, iron phosphate, and quite obviously, and we've seen the presentation just before from Tae-Young, it raised some question on the critical materials, but this will evolve. And if we look at the learning curve of new chemistry that took place, and very happy, to see a innovation company like you do, Carlo, on the truly the next generation of batteries. It's a revolution that will bring. Obviously, it will take time. We still have to master this first generation, and this first generation of batteries will raise indeed some question on the material. Recycling will be key. I cannot enforce that more than Tae-Young did, because that's the only way also that we can improve the cost part and be less dependent of those critical materials. And so again, that's a complete new value chain, that's a complete new ecosystem, and therefore we need a lot of innovation like you do, even though we have to concentrate first on one of the critical points like industrial ramp-up, making sure that we create this new value chain or ecosystem, but there's still a lot of innovation that needs to be pursued to bring that industry at scale.
So let's touch on why all of this innovation is needed, right? So underlying all of this is a sort of an attempt to avoid a new rush for scarce resources, right? We're trying to move away from fossil fuels that will not last forever and that are polluting the planet towards an electric transition. So as companies try to scale clean technologies, what underlying principles, just broadly, sort of outside of innovation or whatever, should they be guided by in order to avoid triggering just another rush on natural resources? That's for all of you. Anyone who wants to jump in.
Yeah, of course, if we consider recycling, of course, we can avoid extraction of natural resources, but recycling is not the solution, is part of the solution of the problem. If we want to make the energy transition, there will be new extraction needed, of course, all around the world, but recycling can be part of the solution. Another thing to be noted is that recycling, especially for magnets, is at the very beginning. So we have to build the whole value chain, the whole collection chain, the whole dismantling chain before being able to treat those materials. And this will be done here in Europe. This will be done by workers and create jobs here in our countries. So that's also a very, let's say, positive effect, side effect, to build this whole value chain which didn't exist before.
Okay, we are just rushing through all of these, so let's move on to talk about how we have the innovation, we have the principles, all of that's great, but to get it off the ground really, in the short term it's going to need the new inventions will need a smooth path into existing systems, but they also need, as we heard before, to be resilient long term. Carlo, how do you balance the radical innovation that you will need for something like inventing a paper battery with compatibility for the larger system?
Yep. One of the key issues that we have been facing now is the friction towards a new battery technology. Well, you can imagine it's a very well-oiled machine, the entire system, where everyone is so used with the lithium batteries and also the entire supply chain with it. But if we're introducing something new, there's a big friction towards trying an entire system that attracts to it. Because if you think about it, let's think about this microphone, right? If you want this microphone to have a new kind of battery inside, you would have to redesign the entire microphone just to hold a new kind of battery. Well, that's something we took into account from the early days as we were building this product since 2019, is we wanted to follow the same manufacturing process as existing technologies today. That falls like the same calendaring process, slitting process, coating process of lithium batteries. And by following that, we're able to make batteries today in the same form factors as existing lithium batteries. Like think about coin cells or cylindrical cells or even the pouch cells. So by conforming ourselves to those standards, we are able to make batteries that can fit into existing products today. So if you want your phone to have a paper battery in the future, we're making the switching costs so minimal so that all you have to do as a manufacturer is just take out your lithium battery and put in our paper batteries inside. And by doing that, it enables the switch to be much easier, lesser friction, and at the same time, bigger impact and easier market education from our side.
Fascinating. So, Pierre, when we talk about that long-term resilience, right? So there's the sort of short-term smooth, how do we put it into the system, but long-term resilience. How can different players make batteries more sustainable, more traceable, perhaps in terms of digital innovation or new chemistries?
I will answer the long-term part, but short-term and mid-term, to bounce back on what Carlo mentioned, there are a few elements that now battery designer, battery makers, the Gigafactory needs to integrate. Design for recycling, design for circularity, has not yet completely fully embraced. And there are good reasons for that. They had to concentrate so much on innovations to bring the cell, the pack at the energy density that we know now that enables all the the cycle, the lifespan. That's quite important. We should not undermine this. Now, indeed, they need to inject, design for recycling principle, how we can simply dismantle batteries. It's a nightmare to dismantle a battery today. We're losing a lot. So there are simple, engineering things that needs to be integrated. Traceability, and that's quite short term. In Europe, we can be lucky that regulation will be enforced in 2027 through the battery passport. That's a starting point. That will not solve the problem, though. That's one key element in order to ensure that we know, where this cobalt, lithium will come from, the origin, can trace it. We'll understand, the state of health of the battery as they are running, and be able so that will facilitate all the recycling. And I cannot agree more with you, though, standardization, it's a nightmare if you look at all the formats, the chemistries. They will continue to have evolution, and we need to have those evolution in order to fuel this innovation. But yes, we need to be able to standardize more at points. Otherwise, it will be very hard to recycle, to swap, to integrate all the new business model Now, and sorry for the long answer, but on a more long-term view, indeed, and all of our clients are massively investing into that. Digital is playing quite a key role in order to accelerate the search for all those new chemistries. We mentioned it, so NMC, LFP are the current major chemistry. Sodium ion will come in, solid state. Hopefully, we will see more of the paper-based or cellulose-based in our short-term future. We need to be able to accelerate this scientific research, and AI, generative AI, for example, here is a key lever. The ability also to be able to concretely simulate the process design as we do a new product is quite key, because being able to scale up or industrialize scale those chemistry is a very challenge. And here digital will help. Traceability, of course. And the last example I will take is we're still living upon a generation, first generation of massive battery. If I take the example of EV, the capability to monitor what we call the battery management system that is taking place in each vehicle, these also will have to innovate and should embrace some more AI in order to be much more accurate, not only in the pack that you have to recycle, but the cell itself, and how we can longer term introduce self-healing cells. That's the type of innovation we'll have to deal with.
Sophie, there's another geopolitical aspect to this. When I've spoken to you in the past, you've sort of highlighted this fact that you're at the helm of a European company. Why should battery recycling be a European priority, do you think? And how can that focus be ensured from a regulatory perspective?
Well, as far as magnets are concerned, we have many stacks, and of course, the first one is to be able to recover those materials from end-of-life products. So from a regulation point of view, we need to make sure that there will be some help from states, from the European Commission, to avoid any leak of waste outside Europe, meaning that we need the waste and end-of-life products to be kept within our borders in order for us to recycle them. So this is the major stack. We are facing a lot of exportation of those waste to South countries, which of course is not sustainable, but which is also a great lack for us. Of course, those industries also need support, including financial support, because they are highly capitalistic. Those industries are linked to chemistry, metallurgy, and everything needs to be rebuilt. And those industries are also highly energy intensive. So all those things have to be taken into account in order for Europe to be sovereign for this energy transition and for all those materials as well.
So one thing that we haven't discussed a lot yet, but is a very live debate in the whole climate space is justice. We know that the burden is not shared equally across the world. Carlo, you are Singaporean, like you said, but you grew up in the Philippines. How did that impact the way that you approach battery technology today?
Yeah, I was born and raised in the Philippines, and if you know Philippines, it's actually very prone to climate change. There's like almost 100 floods, landslides, typhoon storms every single month. So being raised in that kind of environment really affected how I saw the world. There were weeks where we didn't have water to drink, or weeks where we don't have electricity to charge phones or do anything we want. And sometimes schools will be just canceled like that, because of strong rain. Or my neighbor's house will just fly away one night because of strong winds. So seeing this, it really affected something wrong is going with the planet. So as a 12-year-old kid, what did I want to do? I wanted to see what I do to help that, right? So I fell in love with tinkering and fixing and building solutions. And that's when I started working on many, many different kinds of projects. That deep tech projects, climate projects, which got funded by Google, Nat Geo, US Air Force, US Embassy. And that also allowed me to learn a lot about the batteries, different kinds of batteries, lead acids, lithium polymer, lithium ion, supercapacitors. And it led me to understand the fundamentals of how these batteries work. And as a tinkerer, as an engineer, I naturally just wanted to jump to the next problem I wanted to solve, which is batteries. And that's how I fell into the entire problem of batteries, and building this company started from it, And beyond that, with Singapore also, Singapore is a very small country. We don't have much natural resources. So decentralizing how batteries can be made is going to be very important in the future. Understanding that batteries is the future. So being dependent on countries like China and the US is going to be very critical for everyone moving forward. So by decentralizing how we make batteries, we can redefine how batteries can be used and how we think about batteries.
So I want to broaden it all out to all of you. So in a minute, we're going to be hearing from Helena Gualinga about the situation facing indigenous communities in Latin America with mineral mining. How do you think different stakeholders can make sure that justice becomes an integral part of the battery industry going forward? and the different people who are directly impacted by this are heard? Anyone to jump in?
I can start. Justice is going to be a critical element, I think probably one of the next question. In order to really come to that, if we're honest with ourselves, the topic that Sophie brought in, about sovereignty first, might be critical. Otherwise, there will be no justice. The market will be simply detected by the Chinese. So sorry to say the honest truth, but this is what's going to happen if we first don't get sovereign, bringing our own capability to produce, to design, to recycle. And yes, definitely, there is a question when this industry will truly come at scale, how do we make sure we tackle the deep concerns on the social aspect? Take the example of cobalt. I mean, a large German OEM was exposed, a few months back about his sourcing choice of cobalt, in Congo. This raised question, about labor, ethical labor. And I think we're making progress on that. I think the industry has to be conscious of the chance having batteries at scale we have, but the risk also that it triggers. So yes, justice is definitely an important point. But again, we will be able to bring in it and to have a voice about it, if and only if we are part of that industry.
Are there any minerals that are simply too tainted by the situation around their extraction for you to think that they, form any part of the future of battery technologies? Carlo?
Well, we have to really engage with the communities that are deeply involved with the mineral extractions right now. If you think about one example, cobalt right now, almost 80% of the entire world's cobalt comes from Congo. And if you simply just Google in your phones cobalt mining in Congo, you can see how bad the pictures are. There's people holding it with their bare hands, no masks. But when we handle it in the lab, we wear all kinds of protections for ourselves. So seeing children, women, and all kinds of men trying to extract these with unrestricted mines in places like Congo with just one material for batteries is a big problem by itself, right? And the thing is, many manufacturers cannot say anything about this because that's the best option we have right now. So we really need to rethink our entire supply chain and look at ethical sourcing moving forward. And we need to listen to the leaders that we'll be listening to later, because we want to put justice and sustainability really in the middle of innovation, not just an afterthought moving forward.
Excellent. Sophie, do you have anything to add?
Well, from the social point of view, recycling is a very good solution. We are highly committed with what we call in France économie sociale et solidaire. So I don't know how to translate, but it's something like solidarity economy, which enable people which are far from employment or with disability, any kind of, to be employed and to contribute to the recycling process and to the value chain. So from the social point of view, this is a very good impact as well.
Excellent. Any last thoughts before we give up the stage for a fireside chat? No?
Well, if I take 30 seconds on that, I mean, it's a great opportunity. Not the critical mineral piece. I mean, that's a great challenge. But being able to build, a long-standing, sustainable industry will create jobs. Will help us basically to keep up with some level of comfort we have around mobility, energy usage. But we have to make it very consciousness, not to create another problem. So hence this. Topic on mineral and recycling is absolutely key.
Excellent. Thank you so much for all those perspectives. That's about all we have time for. So thanks again, everyone.